Welcome back, everybody, to our series on how to set up your SimplePractice in one weekend. I'm super excited because Travis Miller from SimplePractice is here with us today, and we are talking about paperless intake, the benefits of going paperless, and how to really set that up in your SimplePractice. So grab a cup of coffee, we got them here, and let's do it.
Let's start off easy. Let's go back to our getting started checklist and down in the lower right corner, click that. And let's do the next one on that list, personalize your client portal link. So I'll just click that and it's gonna take me to the settings page where I can do this. Remember in the last session, we went to the client portal as the client and filled out all the paperwork. Your client portal is on the internet. It's a web page on the internet that your client can log in at. And so what we're doing right now is setting what that web address is that they could type in on their computer or on their phone to go directly to your client portal. So this is really cool. You can customize this. Right now it's asking me to customize mine. You can see the default domain here is just my name. And so I want to change that to my practice name. You'll probably want to do that. I'll type in Mariposa Care. So at the end of that will be .clientsecure.me. That's kind of the rest of the website. And then to the right of that, I can click Save and Lock. And now if you need to change this in the future, you can do that. You'll just want to write into the customer success team, which you can do again by clicking that question mark button in the lower right corner and then clicking Ask Questions. So just for fun, let's click View Link to the right of that link, and that will actually open a new tab in your browser and show you your client portal. This is your client portal homepage. So that's just cool to see that that is now on the internet live, and up in the navigation bar, you can see that address there. You could put that on your social media or on another website that you might have in your emails, things like that. So let's close that, and then we're just gonna use our little shortcut by clicking the SimplePractice logo to go back to the calendar page. And now I want to do a quick pop quiz here, okay? In the last session, we created a test client, so I want to see if you can find that test client in your client list. So take a second now to, click around, see what you need to do to find your test client that you made. Okay, time's up. What did you end up doing? You could have used the search box in the upper corner here and typed in your test client name if you remembered it, and that will pop up your clients with that name. You could also find the last appointment with that client on it and click through that way, or you can use the client list in the upper left, and this is the way I like to do it because this is your full client list. It's searchable, and you also have options to filter it by clients and insurance payers. So now let's click that test client. You can click their name. That'll link you directly to their client profile. And what we want to do today is take a look at that intake paperwork that we did in the last video. We filled out the intake paperwork as a client. Now, as the clinician, we're going to look at that paperwork that they turned in. This is how you could review some questionnaires before the session. I don't know if you like to do that, Kelly, but
yeah, I always like to make sure that I read them before, and I always like to make sure that they have their credit card on file.
So as a refresher, there's two types of intake paperwork. There are consent forms, which are just documents that the client clicks OK to agree to, like your practice policies contract. And then there are intake forms, which are more like questionnaires where you're asking the client to fill in different details. So the intake forms show up here in the client overview. And then those consent forms, if you scroll down and look on the right side, there's a box that says shared with client, and you can click show completed. That will show all of the documents that you've shared with this client, and it'll show which ones they've completed.
I like making sure that they've completed all of them. Sometimes I'll send the client a little email the day before and just remind them to complete everything before they come in for that first appointment. Makes life easier for everybody.
Yeah, so here you can see if they've completed some but might have missed one. You can also click these to view them. So I'll click the Notice of Privacy Practices, and that will just pull up a PDF version of this consent form. And so as you can see here, this is the template content from our consent form. And then down at the bottom, they have a signature and then also their IP address, which makes it a legal e-signature. So now looking at this document, up at the top, you'll see that there are some placeholders here, insert practice name, insert address. And so obviously you don't want to be sending this out to your clients like this. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to jump in and put in your information here so you can start sending these to clients. Let's start to customize our intake paperwork. And that is actually the next item on our getting started list, finalize consent documents. So let's click that. And that jumps us right over here to the settings. So this is our list of consent documents here that are just templates. Gives us a little indicator box of where we need to click. And then you can click edit next to them to open them up. Now it's even guiding us through where to change the placeholder text. So I'll just type in some information here. Basically, this box right here is just a big text box. You could delete all of this and paste in your own text from a different document, move things around.
Yeah, I love that you can change different things. Or I know in my practice policies, sometimes I'll add a social media policy or a no secrets policy. And it's nice that you can just sub things in and out.
Yeah, and also it's great to read through this and make sure that it applies to the specific regulations in your state and for your practice. Once I check through that, great, you can click save in the upper right corner. And so you can see there's several other documents here that we can just click edit and go through if you want to use them.
This is one of the things that I love most about SimplePractice is that it comes with so many built-in templates. So if you don't have private practice paperwork already, you could just use all of the SimplePractice documents. And then if you have your own documents already, maybe from a previous practice or for someone else, you can add your own documents too, right, Travis?
Yeah, if you have your own document that you want to add, down here in the lower left, there's a button that says add consent document. So click that. And that just gives you a blank text document where you can add your own.
Maybe you could add a social media policy.
Right, social media policy. So just name it and then paste in the text by clicking edit, paste. Click save and that adds that to your list. And if you just want to check your work, you can also click this little eyeball icon to preview the document like the client would see it. That just kind of helps to check that the formatting is the way you want it to look.
I always think it's worth it. I think the more custom our approach looks, the more impressive it is to clients, So that's what I like about SimplePractice, and that's what I try to do is anywhere there's somewhere you can add your logo or your name or whatever is gonna look the most custom, I think it's worth it to take the time and actually do it.
Again, it might help to write it down on a notepad or something like that, kind of get out of the computer. And so you might want to just pause the video and just look through each document and customize those little placeholders. And think about what other documents you might need to add to this. Kelly, are there any other things that you added to your intake paperwork as you built out your practice?
Yeah, definitely. So I know when I started using SimplePractice, although it was a really long time ago, 2016, I already had established paperwork that I was using. So I actually went through and to all of these, added all those little touches that were specifically for my practice. So I went in and made sure I changed all of the cancellation policies so they matched my specific policy. The phone hours, that's a big one for therapists about when are you available by phone and when are you not. So I kind of went through and I really encourage people to do that. Take the time to make sure the policies, although the templates are great, make sure they're customized for you because every practice is going to be really different. So I think it's good to take the time, really pause the video, maybe go get a cup of coffee and sit there and just slowly work your way through making sure each of these documents is exactly the way you want it for your practice.
So on this shared documents and files page, let's scroll down. There's a couple of other sections I want to show you. Here, the files read-only section, that's for if you have a handout that you want to give someone, a PDF file, maybe a map to your office or directions on how to use telehealth if you have a document for that. You can upload those things here by clicking add downloadable file and add those here. And then below that are our intake forms and questionnaires. So at the top, those were our consent documents, and then down here, intake forms are the questionnaires that clients fill out. So you can see there's some templates here. We have a full template library that you can also pull from, or you can build your own templates here. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to edit this standard intake questionnaire template. Over to the right, I can click edit. and that will take me to the template editor. So this is a super powerful feature, as you can imagine. If you want to customize one of your intake forms, I would set aside some time to learn how to use it. There is a really handy video in the upper right corner here if you click this link. Or you can search the Help Center by clicking the question mark icon.
I know for me, I'm always kind of working on my intake questions. Like I've gone back through the years and changed things and changed the way I ask questions. And I like that you can constantly kind of be tweaking it, you know?
Yeah, this is something that you can go back in, you can move around the questions, you can reword the question. So I just wanted to show you where that is, but this isn't something you need to do right off the bat. It's definitely something that you can get into a little bit later. So we'll close that tab that opened and we're back here at the shared documents and files looking at our intake forms. And so I just wanted to scroll down a little bit more and show you where the demographics and credit card form settings are. Those go here. So you can give clients the option to add in the name that they go by, their insurance information, and their gender identity. Those are all optional fields within that demographics form, and checking them enables them on the form. Or if you do not want the client to fill out their insurance information, you could deselect that if you don't take insurance. Below that is the credit card information form, and we're going to do that in the next video, so don't worry about that now. And the last thing here is the client portal greeting. If you remember when we first went to the client portal in the last video, there was a short message that welcomed the client to the client portal. So this is where you can customize that by clicking edit. And so now here you can customize that if you want, or if you like what's there, you can just leave it as is. This little text code in curly brackets is called a macro, and the software uses these to put the actual recipient's first name in there and display it when they're looking at it. So it's like an automatic way to customize the message for each client. So up above you can see there's a ton of different options for different macros that you can insert into this message, and the way you do that is just to click in this text box, put the cursor where you want that macro to be inserted, and then go up to the menu and click the macro you want, and that inserts it. So you could say thank you, and then the clinician's name. So that's another great way to customize things. Again, if you don't want to change anything here, that's totally fine. It should work for you, but if you do, that's where you can do it. Now that you've customized the documents, let's practice sending them to a client again. So you'll be able to see what your actual documents look like from the client perspective.
I know when I was setting up my SimplePractice, I had like 3 or 4 test clients, and I would send my intake paperwork to my dad, to my husband, and I'd be like, okay, how does it look? And that actually made reduced my anxiety a lot, because I was like, okay, this looks perfect, So as many times as you need to practice, just go for it.
I love that. And yeah, doing it that way, you also get the perspective of other people that are seeing your paperwork. In this case, let's say you don't have a bunch of different email addresses that you can send off to different clients. So I'm actually going to delete this test client so we can use that email again for our new test client. So to delete a client, you can also mark a client inactive if you're not seeing that client anymore. But in this case, it'll block us from adding the same email twice, so we need to just delete this client. So I'm going to click edit and then scroll down to the bottom. And in the lower right, there's the option to delete this client.
Yeah, I always tell people, it's important to only delete a client if that's like a fake client. If you have somebody who you saw 5 years ago and you're not seeing them anymore, just mark them inactive, because you never know when someone's gonna come back and need some paperwork. So don't delete old clients, only delete these tester clients.
Yep, and for safety, you have to type in the client's name to make sure that you actually are serious about deleting this client. For this Jamie Appleseed client, you can also turn that off in the settings. So we're back on the calendar page. So let's practice adding a test client. Now, of course, you could go up to the create button and then click create client. But let's try doing it a different way by just clicking on the calendar where we want to add an appointment. And then that brings up this little new appointment window. And you can click new client right here and then add your test client. I'll call this one sample client. So now we can type in that same test email address that we used last time. I'll enable the email reminders, add a phone number, add the text message reminders. Everything else looks good, and then click continue. And so that added the client to my little appointment flyout here. We're gonna get into this in a moment, but for now, just click done. That adds the appointment to my calendar and then brings up the share intake window again. And now you can see these are your customized forms here, and you can see the defaults that are selected here. Others are available, but not selected. In the next video, we're gonna go over how to enable your online payments account so you can use this credit card information form as well, because I know Kelly loves that.
That's an important one.
Yeah, and then click continue to email. This is that email message that will accompany the link to your client portal. Then click continue to review. This shows you everything that's happening right now. You're sending this message as well as these 7 documents, and then I'll click share and send now. So I know this is repetitive, but now let's go back to your client portal and check out your documents again, see how those changes that you made look in the actual client portal. And so this is another pop quiz. How would you get to the client portal now if you are the client? Okay, time's up. What did you end up doing? Well, of course, you did just send that email, so your client is going to get this email welcome with a link to sign in. But they could also go directly to that client portal web address that we set up at the beginning of this video. So if I went to mariposacare.clientsecure.me, so this is another way that your client can access the client portal. They don't only have to access it through that email that you sent. They can always come to that web address and then click I'm an existing client. This is what we call a passwordless login because they just need their email address, the same one that you put on their client profile. And so this will allow them to log in. So I will type that in here just to show you. When they click send link, that sends an email with a secure login link in the email. So they don't have to remember a password. You don't have to deal with resetting a password or any security issues like that. All they have to know is which email you use to add to their client profile. I'll just give you a preview of what that looks like. Here's the email that I received immediately when I clicked signed link. I can click this to sign in. You can see below it says this one-time link will instantly sign you in until 12 hours from now. Basically, this link is active for about 12 hours, and if they click it after that, they'll just have to request a new one. So they can click sign in. That immediately signs them in. They agree to the EULA. And now we're back here on the welcome page. You can see this inserted the client name sample, and then you can see it inserted the clinician name. These are the 2 macros that we had in that welcome. Then I'll click get started and just go through our paperwork again, make sure it all looks good. So as you're going through this, you can look at these documents again, maybe take some notes if there's anything else you want to change, so you can go back in and change it. So with that, I think you can feel really good about your intake forms and paperless intakes so that you can feel comfortable sending them to the client. If you want to keep practicing sharing intakes, that's something that you can do with your friends or family. Develop that muscle memory of doing it each time. And to wrap up this video, let's go back to the calendar page. I want to show you one last thing. So when you click on one of these appointments in your calendar, the appointment flyout opens up, and this is a really powerful area. So I just wanted to show you some of the things you can do here. You can, of course, click to link directly to the client's profile. You can also see their phone number, email. This dropdown is to record if they were a no-show or if they canceled or late canceled, depending on what your cancellation policy is. Kelly, do you use this feature?
Yeah, I love this because, typically I give clients one kind of free back pass on a late cancellation. So I actually use this to track so that the next time they miss on a late cancellation, I'll reference back and I'll say, actually, I already gave you a free pass on this other day. So I make sure to keep a record of it using that feature.
Absolutely. Below that, these are the details for this appointment, the location, the duration of the appointment. You can also set this appointment to repeat every week on Wednesdays or however often, Wednesdays and Fridays. So play around with that. Below that is the notes section where you can click to quickly add a progress note. Then there is what service that you're providing during this session and the fee that you're charging for that. Again, these are some defaults that you can customize in your account. And below that is the billing section where you can add a payment or see the invoice. And to demonstrate that, click done, and then create an appointment in the past here. This little cursor is the time that it is right now in your calendar. In front of that, tomorrow, the blue color indicates a session in the future. Green is the session in the past. And if you change this to, say, a canceled appointment, it will show up yellow. So there's different color indicators for the different status of the appointments. So let's create an appointment in the past, because in the next two videos, we're going to be talking about billing and adding a progress note. And both of those things you can do on this calendar flyout. I'll add my client and then click done. So now you can see that I can add a note here, or I can create an invoice and add payment. So that's all I have for this session. Kelly, do you have anything else?
Yes, okay. I want everyone to make sure to tune into the next video because we're gonna talk about everybody's favorite section, which is how to bill your clients. This is an important one, so make sure to come back.